Hey, everybody who's here. If anybody's here yet, I don't know. But it's Drew from Drew's Book Reviews. Today is International Towel Day. If you don't know what that is, it's the day we all celebrate Douglas Adams and the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. So, of course, if you don't have your towel with you, you need to go and get your towel right now. I've got Andrew's Wizardly Reads, Niko's Book Reviews, and myself all here. Links are in the description for each of these guys' channels. Towel Day. It's awesome if you haven't checked it out. I was originally working today, but now I'm not. So I thought, what the heck? I got to do a Towel Day stream because it's going to be so much fun. So why don't you guys tell us a little bit about your channels for anybody who might watch that doesn't know about your channels, and then we'll go from there. Starting with Andrew's Wizardly Reads.
I was going to have a quib and I was going to force Niko. But yeah, sure. I am Andrew from Andrew's Wizardly Reads. I am a booktube channel that focuses mainly on fantasy, even though I've been posting a lot of sci-fi content lately. I promise I just happen to be reading a lot of sci-fi at the moment, but I am mainly fantasy. Maybe.
Hey, awesome. Nothing wrong with sci-fi. I'm reading The Expanse. I just started book 2 this morning, The Expanse. Sci-fi is awesome.
Right, I just finished Leviathan Wakes. I need to get to that's Kabbalah Burn, right? No, that's 4.
Caliban's War. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, Niko.
Well, I am Niko from Niko's Book Reviews. I do pretty much only read fantasy. I'm trying to try out a few other things here and there this year, but I started The Realm of the Elderlings, and I'm in the middle of several other really big fantasy series, so it's going to still be mostly fantasy for a bit. But it's definitely, yeah, if you like fantasy, that's mostly my channel here. Andrew's trying to get me to I had to figure out where I'm pointing to read more sci-fi, so I am working on it.
Awesome. And I just discovered I could do green screen stuff with StreamYard, which is very cool. So I put up this Hitchhiker's background. I love it. It's awesome.
You should have seen what he did when I first hopped in. It scared the bejesus out of me.
He showed me.
Watch this.
It's the Invisible Man.
I hopped in, and all I saw was a floating headset. I was like, what's going on?
Well, sometimes I do things just to get the reaction, and it worked.
Yeah, no, I was not expecting it at all.
Awesome. Well, what I can say, anybody's watching who hasn't read The Hitchhiker's Guide, it is an absolutely hilarious book series by Douglas Adams. I haven't actually done any reviews on my channel, but I think I'm going to have to at some point because I read it years before I started BookTube. And I remember the first time I was reading Hitchhiker's Guide, I was laughing so hard that there were times where I had to stop to catch my breath because it was so hilarious. I love the whole Hitchhiker's Guide. It makes fun of science fiction from start to finish. There's 5 books in that. But what these guys didn't know when I first invited them on earlier today, and I didn't even know when I first brought it up, is I just invented a book tag, and these guys have no idea what the questions are going to be.
I have no idea what's going on.
Because I was sitting there, I was reading my book, and I thought, I wonder if anyone's done a Hitchhiker's book tag. So I Googled it, and I couldn't find a Hitchhiker book tag anywhere. And so I said, all right, somebody's got to do a Hitchhiker book tag. It's International Towel Day. What a great way to celebrate International Towel Day by doing a book tag focused around the Hitchhiker's Guide. So these guys have no idea what the questions are. And honestly, even some of them, I think I might struggle to answer myself because I was like, it's a great question, but I don't know if I could think of one that fits that. So we'll see how it goes. So we're going to start this tag, and I will go with the first bit here. Now, as you can see, we're wearing towels. Now, here's the thing. If you don't know the significance of a towel in a Hitchhiker's Guide, first of all, read the Hitchhiker's Guide. But a towel is honestly just about the most massively useful thing an interstellar hitchhiker can carry, partly because it has great practical value. You could wrap it around yourself for warmth. You could lie it on the beach. You could use it to dry off. It's also got great psychological value because, as anyone can tell you, anyone who hitches the length and breadth of the galaxy, rough it, slum it, struggle against terrible odds, win through and still know where their towel is, that is clearly a person to be reckoned with. So this is why a towel is so important. So in the spirit of the towel, if you could pick one book to hitchhike across the galaxy with and still have Which one would it be? Well, in the spirit of Tile Day, I'm going to say Hitchhiker's Guide. Because, you know,
like
that's
cheating.
your guide to,
Yeah.
cheating.
I feel like
maybe.
that's cheating.
All right. Okay, yeah, that's cheating. All right. So if I had to pick one, I'm probably going to go with some galactic level book series. I'm going to go with Dune. How about that? I'm going to go with Dune because Dune is galaxy spanning and really is an amazing book, by the way. Book series, not just a book. But I mean, if you're going to hitchhike across the galaxy, you got to have a galaxy spanning book, right? All right. So how about you, Andrew's Wizardly Reads? What book would you choose to hitchhike across the galaxy with?
Well, this is a really hard answer, but I think I'm going to choose Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. No, any book. Probably I'm going to say, like, it's the only book I can read. Like, it's the only one going around with me.
Pretty much, yep. I mean, it's the only one you're going to have left at the end of your journey. So it's one that you can't lose. That's going to help you along the way as best you can, right?
I'm going to go Leviathan Wakes. Why not?
Sure, why not?
Sci-fi. It has to deal with, like, interstellar consequences and thinking through your actions. And I'm going to go Leviathan Wakes here.
It's a great book.
It is a good book.
Argument there. All right, Niko, how about you?
So I think I might have to go. What you don't know is I forgot this book in the other room, and my wife just very sneakily off camera delivered it to me, so I didn't have to leave. But don't panic. I do feel like that is like you made the question, and it does feel like that's the perfect answer, because if you're gonna travel across the galaxy, having the Hitchhiker's Guide,
exactly,
would probably be very helpful. Barring that, it'd probably be like some sort of like nonfiction guide. But I'm trying to think, what book do I have that might actually help me travel across? That is a hard question.
It's a very hard question.
I know, right?
Because it's got to be useful. So I feel like Leviathan Wakes, it's got some lessons to teach about, space travel and the dangers of space.
Okay, I have an answer. It's definitely not helpful. Haven't actually read this yet. But I think I would bring The Dinosaur Lords by Victor Milan so that I can figure out where the heck this planet is, because I want to go there.
Oh, yeah. That just sounds awesome.
That is an acceptable answer.
Knights on Dinosaurs. That's the only reason I bought this book, and I haven't read it yet, but that's why
I'm totally reminded of Harry Dresden riding through Chicago on a zombie dinosaur.
I haven't gotten that far yet.
Hey, Niko hasn't read that series yet.
Hey, no spoilers on that. It's just a statement of one thing you'll find in the book. I'm not explaining how a zombie dinosaur came to be or what the context is.
Fair enough.
Although we'll never die.
Exactly. All right. So we are going to go on to prompt number 2, the Vogon Poetry. Vogon Poetry is a variety of poetry, often considered to be one of the worst. It is sometimes used by the Vogons as a torture method, as it causes physical pain to the hearer. So name a book that was torture or painful for you to read and or listen to. All right. I'm going to have to go with, there was a book that was actually sent to me. It was called Saving Jesus. I'm not going to get into who writes it or whatnot, but it was just terrible book.
I know that book.
It was...
I flipped through it in high school.
I'm not sure we're thinking of the same book. It was a self-published one. The editing was in desperate need of assistance, big time. It was just a terribly put together story. But he wanted a review of it, so I slogged my way through. But I was like, it was one of those books that if I'd bought on my own, I would have DNF'd it. And like, it's a short book, like 200 pages, and it was just, I can't do this. But he wanted a review, so I finished it so that I could say I actually read the whole thing. That was just, I will never go back to that book ever again. All right, we'll go with Niko.
Were you planning on doing what I think you're planning on doing?
I don't know. We're about to find out.
I can go a different one. So there's definitely
go with your gut.
There's a book that we both thought of, I think, right away. But the other one was even more torturous. It was actually the book that convinced me to start DNFing because I hated it so much, and I got like 400 out of the 600 pages in, and I just could not force myself to go any longer. And that is Rhapsody by Elizabeth Hayden, which is one of the worst books I've ever read. And it wasn't because of, I mean, like, it's traditionally published. Like, there are more books. It was just so boring. Like, the characters were bad. And the first, like, 300 pages, they were traveling through a tree, like, through the center of the earth for, like, 300 pages. And the next 100 pages was everyone in the world being, like, so attracted to the female main character that they would just, like, immediately try to, like, molest her or, like, fall over. And I just gave up.
That sounds cringy. I mean, traveling through a tree sounds cool, but 300 pages of traveling through a tree? How big is that tree?
I mean, it's like they're basically like going through the center of the earth, but like you could have abbreviated it some. It's just like the description of the book sounded so cool, but it was just so boring, and I couldn't stand it anymore. So I definitely felt like torture. I had like the worst reading slump I'd had in years after that book. It was just oof.
No doubt. All right, Andrew, worst book that was torture to read.
Okay, so me and Niko kind of vibed here, but then like he got to go first, so I abandoned it in my brain.
Okay.
And I think we were both going to choose the Poppy War. But I'm actually going to go with, I actually just got a second copy of this book, thanks to a good friend on the Discord. Basically, I DNF'd at 50%. And sold my copies, and I don't want to sit there unfinished. So he had a copy. He was like, "Hey, you want it?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." So that's going to be The Wise Man's Fear by Patrick Rothfuss.
Oh,
that book made me so angry. The first 200 pages belong in book one. It's like you take it when you're breaking up a book. It was broken up incorrectly, it felt like. And then, like, there was this potential for these really cool epic stories to be told, and it got summed up in 3 sentences. And it's just like, oh, I'm not going to tell you about that. It's like, but I wanted to hear about that kind of stuff. And then the whole, like, love interest and just drove me absolutely batty, and I had to walk away.
Oh, man. I was kind of neutral on that series. I didn't hate it, but I wouldn't say that I absolutely loved it. So
I already know what I'm in for. I already know that I'm in for 50 pages of something I don't want to read.
Well, there you go. There you go. All right. So next up, The Bulldozer. In the Hitchhiker's Guide, Arthur Dent's house was bulldozed to make way for a new highway while the earth was being bulldozed by the Vogon constructor fleet for an interstellar highway. So name a book that completely destroyed your ideas about a particular writer or genre. I would honestly have to go the book that was sent to me by a self-published author called Blind Sympathy by Roberta Bombinato. I'm actually, she might be on my channel at some point, so stay tuned. But when she initially contacted me about this book, it was kind of like, oh, well, it's a paranormal romance. And I thought, okay, paranormal, cool. Romance, no thanks. It just was not something that I do not read romance. I have no interest in reading.
Same.
And so I thought, okay, well, you're self-published. Let me give you a chance. You've reached out to me. You're willing to send me your book. And I was actually pleasantly surprised because I did not expect to enjoy romance as much as I actually enjoyed that book. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going down to the local grocery store and picking up every romance book on their little shelves there. But I actually found that I enjoyed it a lot more than I expected for a romance book. So I completely changed what I thought a romance could be, which I guess is a good thing. And, I don't know, maybe one day I'll try something like that again. I don't know. But anyway, Andrew, you're up next.
I actually do have an answer for this one. One of my favorite booktubers is Leslie from the Nerdy Narrative. Absolutely love everything that she does. And she turned me onto a series very, very recently, and I've already finished the first book. It's a series of novellas called The Nightmare Land Chronicles by Daniel Barnett. And it's like urban horror-ish. where basically the premise of this world is that like the sun went out and basically people's brains couldn't handle it. And so they all started going mad. And it's so well written, and it's hard to express how I feel about this book because I don't read horror. I walked away from horror years ago. I just didn't click with me. And then I was heading towards a reading slump earlier this month, and I happened to catch Leslie's video, and I was like, you know what? For $1.99, why not? She says it's so good. Let's see what all the fuss is about. And oh my God. Like there was just this one scene. I read that scene and then immediately just got pulled right out of a reading slump. It like just skyrocketed me back into just passionate reading. And it's just so good. So good.
I've been hearing that from Leslie too. And now that you're promoting it, maybe I have to start looking into it.
Oh, you have to.
I'm probably going to end up having to check that out.
Stacy from Stacy's All Booked Up, I think is the channel name, just interviewed the author yesterday. So
awesome.
If you want to check that out.
All right, Niko, you're up.
Very cool. So I was trying to think of an answer while you guys went, so I was glad to go last on this one. But based on kind of the way you guys answered the question, I felt like I should go with a book that was also not something that's in my normal kind of reading and also got me out of the slump I was in after the Poppy War.
I haven't read that yet. Now you're making me think I should.
Okay,
you love it or you don't?
I was going to say, most people really do enjoy it. Me and Andrew are some of the few who don't. I'm near all my books, so I'm trying to roll over and get them. But I'm going to go with The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman. Because this is a really short book, and I had, before reading this, I'd read Good Omens, which is Gaiman and Pratchett, and then American Gods, which was really odd. It's like kind of fantasy, but kind of literary fiction. And this 100% was like literary fiction with like mystical realism or whatever you like to call it or whatnot. Just not my normal read. I loved this book, and this completely changed my idea of whether or not I would like books that are written like this, because sorry, I just saw the comment in there. But I really love this book, and it's an odd book. It's very slow despite being very short, but it's just like I really enjoyed it. So then I just read Stardust, and I didn't care for that one too much. The movie was cool, but I'm definitely going to try more Gaiman because I was pretty well sold after this one, so I really enjoyed this book.
Awesome.
I just saw the comment.
I thought that's what the face was for.
Oh, hold on. We're going to show this on screen because Epic, that's an awesome comment.
I'm not even sorry. And Patrick, it's so good. It's so good.
I'm not sorry either, Epic. You know, thanks for watching, and we're happy you're here. No, we're not sorry. This is great. Okay, so let's see what we have here. All right, prompt number 4. Just so you guys know, there's 12 prompts. So just so that, so you know, number 4, the improbability drive makes the impossible happen. So name a book or writer that you thought would be impossible for you to like, or perhaps dislike, but after reading, the impossible happens. So let's start with Niko on this one.
Oh, thank God.
So a book after you read it where you feel like the impossible can happen?
No, a book or writer that you thought would be impossible for you to either like or dislike. But then you read it and the opposite happened. The impossible literally happened. If you thought you would love it, but you hated it, or you thought you would hate it, but you ended up loving it.
Interesting. So that's a really good question. Can I? Yeah, you know, I'm answering first, so I'm just gonna do it. So I'll go with, because I was trying to think of something. Because usually, if I think I'm gonna hate something, I don't tend to read it. Because if I really think I'm gonna hate it, I'm like, I'm not gonna waste my time and read it. There have been things I thought I would like that I didn't like so much. But the one that comes to mind specifically is the Five Warrior Angel trilogy by Brian Lee Durfee, which I'm not going to go get those books because they're over there behind a table, and I don't want to have to go past that. They're not in the easier access bookshelves. But I read the first one. It was kind of a random pickup. It sounded cool, and I did not care for it. Had a lot of problems with it. And this was back when I didn't even do video. I posted a review. I got like 2 views, and one of them was Brian Lee Durfee, of course, who had found my tiny review, and he convinced me to try the second book. And so he literally signed and sent me a book, and I'm like, that's really awesome. I'm gonna for sure try to read it. But the whole time I'm like, oh my god, I hope I don't hate it, and then have to like post on the review being like, hey, I still hate your series, Brian Lee Durfee. But I actually really, really enjoyed it, and it like fixed so many things and so many problems I had from the first one. And so I was really dreading, thinking like, oh, I hope that this isn't going to be. Oh, I just thought of a better answer.
All right.
Okay. But
I
anyway,
got all day. It's
so,
good.
Well, my secondary answer, because the book's actually within arm's reach, unless I'm stealing Andrew's again, is funnily enough, it's another. Booktuber who's also an author is Walker Wright 7 in his book Weavers. And was that yours? I'll stop. I already answered once. I'll let you do it. It's going to be the same answer anyway. Go ahead.
Right.
No, it's fine. Keep talking. Pump his book. Hold it up.
I was going to say, so, well, I can, he actually reached out to Andrew and I, and we both bought and read the book. And he had said out of like all of the people who he'd talked to about the book, he thought we would be like the least likely to actually read and enjoy it because it's a bit more YA, and neither one of us really read YA. And so we both read it. We're like, oh, that was actually really good. And so and I've talked about
really
it.
Enjoyed it.
And so it's a really enjoyable book. That's Walker Wright 7, who I don't think he's here. He stopped by to say hi, but he was working, he said. But it was really good. And this is another one. I was like, I bought it, and I'm like, I'm going to read and review. And he was totally cool too, just like Brian Lee Durfee, and straight up said, hey, if you don't like it and you have a bad review, that's fine. But I was like, I really don't want to leave a bad review on somebody who's asked me to leave their book if I don't have to. Yeah. But I actually really enjoyed the book. So that was my secondary answer.
Honestly, I feel the same way. If someone sends me their book to read, if I don't like it, I will tell them right up, I don't like this. You sure you want me to post a public review? Because I really didn't like it. And so when it comes to self-pub and books that are sent to me, I will only post reviews that I consider 3-star or better. And
fair.
Unless the author's fine with me posting a crappy review. But,
Justin, you're still wrong about Good Omens. I'm just saying.
All right.
We talked about that in Discord. Sorry.
Good Omens is amazing.
It is, yes. I agree. It is amazing. All right, Andrew, you're up.
I need a refresher on what the prompt is.
Okay, it's the improbability drive that makes the impossible happen. So name a book or an author that you either thought you would love but hated, or that you hated but ended up loving, or you figured you would hate but you ended up loving.
Okay, so I've already said that series once. We've already done, so what I thought I would love. You know what? No, that's already been mentioned plenty. I thought I would. I've got Magic Bites by Alona Andrews.
Never even heard of it.
It is a urban fantasy romance. And actually, I've convinced Niko to get a copy of it.
I don't know where it is, or I'd grab it.
Huh?
I just say I don't know where it is, or I would grab it to show everyone.
I absolutely loved that series. In fact, I loved it so much. I read all 10 of the Kate Daniels books. Then I read the spin-off novel Gunmetal Magic. Then I read all the novellas. Then I went and read the spin-off. I forget the name of this because it's incomplete. They actually postponed it due to COVID. And then I also went and read their Hidden Legacy series, which is another 5 books. And the novella there. Like, basically, I picked up this one book on a recommendation for a friend, and then I just went straight down the rabbit hole.
Well, sounds like you've become a fan.
Yes. There are books that they have written that I haven't read, mainly because if I go down that rabbit hole, I'm gonna wreck my TBR.
Just like we wrecked epics.
I do it every day. That's old news. That's just a hobby at this point.
Yeah, no kidding. All right, so for me, it would have to be Terry Goodkind's has some books. Now, I love his Sort of Truth series so much, and I've mentioned this on other videos, that I named my kids Kaylin and Kara after characters from those books.
Oh, wow.
That tells you how much I love Terry Goodkind's Sort of Truth. And so I thought there is no way that I could hate something Terry Goodkind wrote until Nest and the Girl in the Moon. These two books are outside of his Sort of Truth world, and they were horrible. Just terrible. The characters, the way the characters were written made no sense based off their character profile. They were written like an essay, a political essay on gun control, which is not what I went into the book to get. I'm not interested in a political lecture about your politics on gun control, but it really read that way. And I don't even care what side of the issue the book takes when it's presented like you're just trying to prove a point. It's just terrible writing, in my opinion, and I was very disappointed. I did not think that I could possibly hate a Terry Goodkind book, but those ones, do not read them. They're terrible. Just terrible. So that would be my impossibility for that one. All right, prompt number 5. The mice in Hitchhikers are really actually super intelligent interdimensional aliens that built the computer Deep Thought to determine the answer to life, the universe, and everything, which, as we all know, is 42. So, name a book or a series that caused you to have deep thoughts about life, the universe, and everything. I am going to have to go with this one, The Hidden Reality by Brian Greene. Honestly, when you get down into quantum and particle physics and string theories and alternate dimensions and whether time really flows in the direction we perceive it and whether this universe is a hologram or part of a multiverse, it really gets you kind of going, whoa. So for me, Brian Greene, every time The Hidden Reality I would have to name on this one definitely got me thinking those deep thoughts about what is the universe really? Is the universe just part of a multiverse? Is it just a hologram reflected off something else? Does time really flow in a linear fashion? I don't know. But definitely I'd have to go with that one. How about you, Andrew's Wizardly Reads?
Can I just say Discworld?
Sure. You can say anything you want. That's the whole point of the prompt, but you have to say why Discworld.
Discworld is, so far I've only read 2 Discworld books. And you know, whenever you go in, there are always important social themes that are like addressed in the series. I actually just read Men at Arms, which if you've read this, you know about the Gone.
Yep.
And so this lone book that is only 300 pages tackles so many social issues that really makes you think, but it does it through the lens of fantasy, and I really, really enjoyed that.
Oh yeah, that's part of what makes Discworld awesome. And he does it in a very, very funny, humorous way too, which I absolutely love about the Discworld, which is why I'm reading them all.
I am slowly collecting these library hardcover editions.
Jealous.
That's awesome. All right, Niko, you're up.
So I have a very different answer. Those are both interesting, but this is where like I'm trying to tie all these questions back into mostly fantasy since it's mostly what I read. So I thought and it starts, technically I don't even know if it's novella length. It was more like a short story, but Defending Elysium, which is by Brandon Sanderson and is the like story that he wrote a really long time ago that then turned into the Skyward series. And that original story was written very, very differently, but it kind of sets up for basically a world in the future. And it's the idea that basically once a species evolves enough, they learn kind of like telepathic travel, basically. And once they're at this point, they're typically supposed to have, gone past all form of violence or aggression and be like a higher being. And Earth gets there too soon. And so when the aliens then come to like meet them and greet them, it ends up being this like whole different thing that's put off because the people who made first contact, which happened to be a telephone company, which I still find humorous, and so like the telephone company is now in charge of all like communications with other species because of it. But it's like just this idea, and so they're kind of put into this area where they're like, well, hey, you haven't evolved enough as a species to actually become part of the universe. And so like lots of decisions, and then it sets up for a lot of things that are happening later, much later in that series. So
if you haven't read the Skyward series, for everybody that's watching, I love it. And you have to read it too, Andrew.
Book one was so good, and like I'll read anything Sanderson writes. So even though it's YA, which isn't really my thing, I still enjoyed it. Book two I didn't like as much as book one, but I still liked it.
Oh yeah, I'm eagerly anticipating book three. I might have pre-ordered it already. I'm not sure, but I know I'm definitely buying it when it comes out.
Same.
I'll have to check Indigo and see. Indigo is the Canadian big box bookstore, for those that don't know, because I know most of my audience is America. So Indigo is the Canadian big box bookstore. I'm definitely going to be pre-ordering that when it's available, for sure. All right. Prompt number 6. So long and thanks for all the fish. The dolphins have left the earth, knowing it will be destroyed. So they have left behind everyone, but with fond memories, saying, so long and thanks for all the fish. So, name a book, author, or genre that you read once upon a time, but have decided it's time to leave behind, even though you may have fond memories of that. For this one, I'm going to have to go with Orson Scott Card. I loved his Ender's Game universe. I read that when I was 13, 14, and I have very fond memories of reading it. Ender's Game is what launched me to become a science fiction fanatic when it comes to books. And I absolutely love it. And I still have fond memories and love for it now. But I'm just not a fan of Orson Scott Card's writing like I used to be. It's at the point now where I'm probably not going to buy any other Orson Scott Card book or read his books again, as I've kind of learned more about him as an author, and not going to get into some of the controversy surrounding him, because believe me, there is some. Just Google it and you'll see what I'm talking about. I know there was a boycott movement for the Ender's Game movie when it came out because some of that. So for me, leaving behind Orson Scott Card with those memories, lest they be ruined by doing a reread with, a much bigger picture of his writing and how I interpret it now that I know more about him as a person. I think it's just best to leave that in the past and kind of go from there. How about you, Andrew?
For me, it's a series that I really, really loved as a very, very early teenager. I have to stress that I was young because it's a very, very, it kind of rides the line between YA and middle grade, would be Piers Anthony's Xanth novels. And Niko's laughing because he got the spell for chameleon, which is actually a fairly decent book. I would say the first 8 Xanth novels aren't too bad. But then, like, it got into, like, magical women's underwear, and, like, it got a little weird for a little bit. And, the whole, if you pull up the map of Xanth, it's just Florida. It's like a, like, different dimension. It's like, so the fantasy map is Florida. I have fond memories of certain stories, especially A Spell for Chameleon, The Source of Magic, Ogre, Castle Rugana. I really, really loved those books as a child, and just now I kind of smile as I walk by them in the bookstore, and maybe occasionally I remember I walked in and my local Half Price Books about 3 weeks ago had like 80s versions book club hardcovers, and I kind of picked them up and looked at them and just put them back and walked on. So it's just a series that is from my childhood.
It is number 15. The 15th Xanth novel is called The Color of Her Panties. That's a real thing.
That's a real thing.
The fact that it's named that is enough reason for me not to want to read it.
I did say there was magical underwear.
That's what I remembered as soon as you said that. I saw something about that before. But I'm really struggling on an answer for this one, which maybe just means like I'm lucky because I've revisited some things I read as a kid and still really enjoyed them. Last year, I reread Prydain, which is the purple book up there, which I read when I was like really, really young. That's the first fantasy I ever read. Really enjoyed that. I reread Dragonlance last year, the first three, and really enjoyed those. I mean, I first started Eye of the World when I was in like 6th grade. And I of course still love Wheel of Time. So
Wheel of Time's awesome, yeah.
So like there are several things I read that I didn't like very much, and that I wouldn't really go back to. So I mean, like the only thing I can think of is like I don't think I'm going to be rereading like Magic Treehouse or anything that I read when I was really, really young.
I actually just bought a box set for my daughter to read to her.
Well, see, but
awesome.
that's fair. Oh, actually, just to pick on Epic, I didn't really like Aragon that much, but I don't have any interest in reading Paolini because I didn't like Aragon that much. So maybe I'll use that as my answer.
I've actually got a signed copy of a Paolini book, To Sleep in a Sea of Stars. They just happened to be selling it while I was at the bookstore looking for books, and it was sitting there at that signed book, Sleep in a Sea of Stars. BookTube's talking about it. Why not? So there you go. All right, guys. Just hold on a moment. My kids left the front door open. I'll be right back.
Oh, we are on a pause. So it's time to do a towel dance.
I was going to say, it looks like Fit to Be Read asked for book recommendations for their 12-year-old son. So,
all right.
Dance.
There we go. Now, if my towel was long enough, I would have whipped the door closed, but, it's too far. All right. So, our next prompt, designer planets. So, Slarty Barfast is a Margrathian, and he's a designer of planets. So, what would you include in a world that you personally designed? Now, for this, one, we've got to have a magic system in the world that I would design. I've often thought about this really cool idea. Kind of ties back into some of the physics books I read. This idea of there's an abundance of dark matter and energy in the universe, but we don't see it. But it has to account for all the missing math we see in the universe. And so I always thought a magic system based on tapping into the dark and light energy would be an awesome magic system to have in a world. So, and because there's so much more dark energy, in order to get the right balance, a light magic user would naturally be more powerful than a dark magic user, but there's an abundance of more dark magic users or dark matter energy users than the light energy we could actually see. So I thought that'd be a really cool concept or basis for a magic system that I would definitely have included in my world. I see you, Andrew.
That was much deeper than what I was going to say.
Yeah, I'll bet. But as far as a magic system, at the very least, I would definitely go with that. And then, of course, I love books. I love fantasy worlds where, I mean, the stereotypical fantasy races like orcs and elves and, all those trolls and dwarfs and all that. Those are always fun in a fantasy world. But I think I would have to invent my own creatures and my own animals that we see in the world. Maybe like a species based off the octopus, which would be really cool. Because let's face it, octopuses, I don't know. Anyway, they are creepy. You think about how smart they are and how much they could blend in. But instead of having a sea-dwelling race, I'd like to see like a race in this world that doesn't live in the sea but on the land, and they're kind of like, maybe they're composed of these dark magic users, so their advantage is they could blend into the background and mimic and look like anybody and anything. And so you never know who's who, kind of thing. So I definitely kind of have some creatures based off inspiration from the scariest, creepiest creatures we find on this planet here. So those are just some of the elements I would definitely have in a world that I would create. How about you, Andrew?
I went nose goes, but fine, I'll go first. I would probably, for a magic system, because I'm super unoriginal, I would probably take like the color aspect from Lightbringer and then mix that with the weaving from the Wheel of Time. And so, you can kind of make physical things in the Lightbringer world. Now, granted, this is a series I haven't read, or I haven't finished reading.
Neither have I.
I only read the first 2 books. So
I've read all
I
but
promise
the last
Niko
one.
I will go back and finish. I've actually got the first 2 on audio now again. And so I'll be getting to it eventually. But then the weaving of like Sider and Sidin in the Wheel of Time, so you could like weave colors and get different results, and like mixing colors to get new colors and new aspects and things of like that. And then in the world, it would just, as long as it's got dragons, and you know what, it'd probably look a lot like Realm of the Elderlings. I don't know, something like that. Just kind of
hopefully not as harsh.
Hybrid between dragons and octopus.
Yeah, sure. Those. I will take that answer and be happy with it. And I will pass the baton to Niko, because
All right.
I'm just going to keep rambling otherwise.
So when we were just describing what I'd put in a world, my first thought was bookshelves everywhere, as far as the eye can see.
Why did I think of that? Jeez.
I mean, that was immediately where I went, and then you're like developing a whole magic system. I'm like, okay, my answer was a little dumb, apparently.
Hey, my dream house is a wall made of shelves. Like the walls are literally bookshelves. Like you design the walls as a shelf. Every room, the wall is a shelf.
My wife would kill me.
Same. I still want to get you can actually get them online, but they're really expensive. I've always wanted a secret door bookshelf, and you can literally like buy them and like you install it, because I want to have like a secret bookshelf room, and inside is like more bookshelves and a place I can read where nobody can find me.
I want a TARDIS that opens into a library, okay?
When I die, it's like it's a library now. There you go. Just all the books I'll collect of it. Oh man, and then my companion answer was gonna be, as long as like I'm the only one who has the magic, I'll just like be able to stop time so I can read all the books and not have to worry about any other responsibilities.
Read for about 7 months. I should probably go to work.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Oh man, but yeah, I don't know. I haven't really ever thought too much about like designing a magic system all that much, but I do agree. Lightbringer had one of the coolest non-Sanderson magic systems that I've read, because I like a lot of Sandersons too. But yeah, the whole using the Luxin and the different color of light was super fun and cool. But I always have liked the idea of weaving, but it sounds like a lot of work. So, for memorizing all of the patterns, I'd forget all of that. I'd never pass an Aes Sedai test, like ever. You gotta memorize 200 wheat. No, I'm like, I forgot what the third one was.
Just be an Ashaman.
So I mean, I'll probably get like weeded out for being too weak and get my head exploded, but I'd have better odds probably.
that could work. All right, prompt number 8: Zaphod Beeblebrox, the two-headed alien. What book or book series can be interpreted in 2 or more different ways? This could be allegorical or otherwise. Niko, you're up first.
I already used Ocean at the End of the Lane, which is a dual story that you can take 2 very different ways. So I guess we'll go. I feel like whenever there's a really hard question, you make one of us go first so that you don't have to answer it.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
You forget I created the question, so I know what was coming.
I know. I kid. So I think, because I'm trying to come up with a pretty quick answer, but what kind of comes to mind is the Black Company by Glenn Cook. Specifically, I've only read the first 3. But they really touch on it in the 3rd book, especially that, you're reading about the Black Company and their part in a war, and from their perspective, they're doing what they're paid to do. They're a mercenary group, but from like most of the world's perspective, like they're totally working for the villain, and the things that they're doing are completely wrong. And so I know this doesn't like perfectly fit the question, but I'm adapting because I couldn't think of anything else quicker. But so it's kind of like you read the story, and then as you get to the third book, a lot changes, and you kind of get that reflection of the story you just read. You read it the way it was written, but like if you think about it as like somebody on the outside would have seen it, it completely changes the story and what's happened. So I think
I love when like the same story could have completely different perspectives and interpretations. That's one of the that's how you know a book is written well. All right, Andrew, you're up.
Actually, I picked one to say something, and then that actually made me think. Let me move my wand. And we're going to go A Time of Blood by John Gwynne. And basically, I can't really say a whole lot here except that we've got multiple factions, and we think we know who's good and evil, only to realize that they're just both different shades of gray. And
that's the best kind.
That's as much as I can say, since not only is this a sequel trilogy, but is also the second book in the trilogy. And I know Niko hasn't read it, and I'm sure a lot of people who are watching right now.
I haven't read it. I've got it, but I haven't read it.
So I'm going to go A Time of Blood.
All right.
And leave it at that.
I did think, too, as just kind of a really quick bonus answer, Robin Hobb in the Live Ship Traders. It happened a little bit in Farseer, too, but she loves to write things where it doesn't seem quite the way that it is. You got that a lot in Farseer with Fitz, where he especially in the earlier books when he's very young, he completely does not understand what's happening and interprets things one way, but you as the reader can understand what's going on. And in Live Ship, she would do this thing where you'd see a scene through somebody's eyes, and then it would POV switch, and it's a completely different scene once you realize what's actually like going on in different people's heads. And so there's the bonus answer.
I know who you're talking about.
That's awesome. So for my pick, I would have to go with Peter V. Brett's The Demon Cycle. And what I love about this, we talk about, demons have been portrayed both literally and figuratively throughout cultural history for thousands of years. But what I love about The Demon Cycle is our main character. He's known as the Warded Man, where he's literally tattooing himself with wards. So these wards are like this symbolic or this writing that he's literally embracing and making part of himself. These ideas tattooed on his skin. But at the same time, the wards are what help him fight the demons. Now, what I love about this as well is it's both symbolic in the sense that mankind has these demons that haunt us at the dark, and they only come out at night in this book. So this idea that the demons only hunt us at night, it's at night during our darkest hours in which we struggle with our demons that come up from the pits of our own personal hells, or universally as an entire society. But also what I like about it is part of what our main character is doing. And I'm trying not to get too I don't want to get too spoilers, so I'll try to keep it vague. But part of what our main character is doing is he actually starts not just killing the demons, but actually devouring their flesh to gain their powers. Now, what's really interesting about this is I can say, yes, he's doing so to gain their supernatural abilities through their flesh, but also as he's devouring the demonic flesh, he is becoming a demon himself. And so it's this really interesting kind of duology is that one, you need to be able to take part of your enemy in order to effectively fight them off to kind of understand and know them, but also what we consume and what we attach to ourselves and our very being through the warning of the skin through tattoos, but also consuming those things which demonize us. By embracing them and making them part of ourselves, we become what we fear. And this is kind of that really interesting different ways to look at that. And that's part of what I love about The Demon Cycle. It is one I do have on my reread plan list. Also, if you haven't read The Demon Cycle, go check it out. Awesome set of books. Love Peter V. Brett's The Demon Cycle.
I definitely think that's an underrated series, and I get why some people are turned off because there's some definitely rough some scenes in there, but it was really good. That's why I was going to ask if you'd finish the whole thing, because the way it ends to plays, I think, into those bigger ideas too, and I really enjoyed the ending.
Absolutely. I can't wait to reread it, but I got so much on my reread list right now. It's because I'm rereading series I haven't finished because I want to get a refresher before I read the last books. So I've still got the Shadow Campaigns and Lightbringer that I got to get to yet. So
I just got those.
Yeah, I remember really liking it. It's been a couple years, and then finally I'm going back and rereading them. All right. So prompt number 9, The Hitchhiker. Name a book that somehow ended up in your library, but you don't know how. It's just stowed away at some point and winded up in your library without explanation. I would have to go with Angela's Ashes on this one. Frank Kurt, I think. If somebody knows, correct me. Frank something. Anyway, Angela's Ashes, I read it. It wound up in my library at some point, but I have no idea how I got it. I really don't. It's just one that I've had, and I don't ever remember buying it. I don't remember getting it as a gift. I don't remember picking it up at a library and not returning it. I have no idea how it got there. But there you go. It's there. And it's a good book, by the way, if you haven't read it. All right. Niko.
I was going to say I'm ready for this one. I knew exactly the book for this one because I was literally in the middle of doing a book haul video, and I picked this up, and I'm like, what is this? And then I read the back, and I'm like, I don't recall owning this book. So this is Beyond the Pale by Mark Anthony, the book 1 of The Last Rune. And it doesn't even sound like something I would buy because, like, I was reading the description. It says, reality is unraveling in the dusty Colorado town of Castle City. Strange symbols are carved into storefronts and ancient legends come to life. Saloon keeper Travis Wilder is handed an ornate iron box and a mysterious mission. And in Denver, where dead men walk, ER doctor Grace Beckett is witness to a terrifying and inhuman scene of carnage. Theirs is a destiny shrouded in a coming darkness, a destiny that draws them into the other world of Eld. And I'm not going to read the rest, but like that's a wild description. There's a lot going on there, and I don't have any memory of. I don't know where this came from. I have no memory of this book existing until I found it in my book haul pile. So I don't know.
Oh, geez, that description.
Anyone read Beyond the Pale?
That description was beyond the pale. All right, Andrew's Wizardly Reads, you're up next.
I don't have an answer for this one.
Do you want me to send you Beyond the Pale?
All of my books about a year ago. So everything that is on my shelves is there consciously.
Not a single book that you have no idea, eh?
Not a single one.
All right, we've got our first stump on the stream.
I feel like I got lucky having an answer for that one, though. I would have had way harder.
Honestly, 150 books.
When I first thought of the questions, I had trouble thinking of it. I'd actually go through all the books in my storage closet to see if there's anything there I don't remember having.
I definitely have books that like I don't remember when I got them, but I remember like I got them like at a garage sale or something. But I got something like that. But yeah, that Beyond the Pale is still the big mystery. I have no recollection of that one. So,
right. Well,
yeah, no, I'm stumped. I got nothing.
All right, we can let you come back to that one. All right. So next prompt. Ford Prefect, the weird alien companion, is Arthur Dent's companion after he's rescued from Earth and hitchhiking across the galaxy. So, name a booktuber you would want to hitchhike across the fantasy or sci-fi worlds with. Someone you would trust to be a good guide through these worlds. Yay! I'll start with this one. I'll honestly, I know that. Maybe this won't come as a surprise, but let's face it, Daniel Green really knows his stuff. And I would definitely, he could take me across the worlds. I'm all good with that. Absolutely. Because that guy, he knows the stuff inside, especially if we're hitchhiking across Randland. He's the guy that's going to get us through there. All right. So Andrew's Wizardly Reads. Okay, I'm going to put a rule. You can't pick each other.
Come on.
Okay, so we all know Niko's my book brother.
Yeah.
So if I can't pick Niko, it would probably be Lezlie from the Nerdy Narrative.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
She would be good.
Leslie's super cool.
She is.
B,
Yeah.
she's super well read, and C, she's just awesome. So bare minimum, I'm going to be entertained.
Oh, 100%.
So yeah, it's got to be Lezlie.
How about you, Niko?
So it is a good thing that you said you'd be going to Manland, because I feel like if you took Daniel Green with you to a world with goblins, he would run off to join his clan,
Probably,
and you'd never see him again. But so I decide I would definitely go with Alan from the Library of Alexandria, because I just feel like he would have nonstop things to say the whole trip to keep me entertained. And so since I can't pick Andrew, I still can't figure out which direction is which on this thing. But
well, technically we're both Andrew.
That is true. So either way,
that never even crossed my mind. To me,
I always forget about that because you're Drew and he's it's a good point. But yeah, it's I feel like Alan would definitely keep me very entertained. And if we were in trouble, he'd probably just like sing a song and cause a distraction, and we could get away or something.
Unless you run into orangutans,
and then he gets to decide forever
when you stop looking at the orangutans.
That's true.
He decides.
There you go. All right. So, prompt 11. Marvin, the depressed android. Name a book that is just depressing from start to finish. You're up, Niko.
Yes, I'm so glad I get to go first.
I'm so mad.
I mean, it could almost be either Royal Assassin or Assassin's Quest, but holy crap, like Hobb writes dark books, and those two especially. I felt like after finishing Assassin's Quest, it's the pretty one. I gotta grab it. I just needed a moment to like absorb everything in Assassin's Quest after finishing it, because it was just like, it was so depressing the entire time. And like, it's a beautifully written book, but it just like everything was bittersweet. Even the ending was incredibly bittersweet. And like some things happened, but you think like, yeah, but all of the other stuff happened. And so it was depressing, but in a good way, I guess, because it was a beautiful book. But man, those books made me sad.
All right. Andrew, you're up.
So it has to be from start to finish?
It's got to be a sad book all the way through. Not a book with lots of sad moments, but the book is sad.
You know what? I don't feel like this is cheating. I'm going to pick Royal Assassin.
That's fair.
There is literally no happiness to be found here.
Plus, the ending was way more depressing than the ending of Assassin's Quest.
I'll have to take both of your word for it, because I haven't read Robin Hobb yet, and I know I need to. Those are going to be some of the next books I buy, I'm sure. But
look at how beautiful they are. Look at them.
They are. Okay, stop it, guys. You're making me jealous.
It's his fault I bought them,
to be fair.
But
awesome.
Oh, but seriously, yeah, Robin Hobb is amazing.
All I'm hearing. All I'm hearing about is Robin Hobb is amazing.
It's definitely, especially Farseer, isn't necessarily for everyone, because it's very slow and it's kind of oddly paced, especially in books 1 and 3. And the narrative structure in Farseer is super odd, but it's like, I don't know. You'll know if it's for you pretty quick, and if it is, you're gonna love it. So
yeah,
highly recommend.
I'll keep that in mind.
If you don't like Assassin's Quest or Assassin's Apprentice, don't force yourself through the trilogy, is what I would say.
Yeah,
I definitely give Royal Assassin a try, but I mean, just because it is such a step up.
Yeah, eventually
we're gonna destroy your TBR, Drew.
Yeah, right up your TBR.
I thought we were destroying Epic's TBR.
His tip.
I just referenced Epic.
All right. So for me, as far as a sad, depressing book, I'm going to have to go with the recent patron pick, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? A post-apocalyptic world where mankind is fled. Everyone that's left has nothing going for them. And those poor androids. I I was crying for him. Okay, I wasn't literally crying for him, but man, did I feel bad for those androids while I was reading the whole book from start to finish. Like, what did they ever do to you? Why are you doing this to them? I'm trying not to get into spoilers, but man, this post-apocalyptic world, mankind has fled Earth. The cities are in this state of decay, and the only people that are left are the ones that are just doing a job that they don't necessarily want to do. And the androids are fleeing for their lives and being hunted down to extinction. And I'll just leave it at that. But that was a sad book, but it's a sad book I loved. Absolutely loved. Andrew, I don't know if you had a chance to take a look at that yet. I know I've already put it up for my patrons, but
I have not yet.
It's just it was a good read. It was Epic said I should do a bit of a rant review, so I tried to go a bit ranty on it for Epic's sake.
Epic wants everybody to do a rant review. He wants me to do a rant review. He's begged me to do a rant review.
So, but that'll be live for everybody on Friday. So stay tuned for my review of Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep. But yeah, I'd have to say that's a pretty sad world from start to finish. And I don't feel like it ended to turn in any way that would turn it into a happy story, as far as the story as a whole goes. So that would definitely be my pick. All right.
I've always known the title of that book, but I didn't know a lot about it, so that was really interesting.
Yeah. I hope I didn't get too spoiler for people. I know some people like.
It's a pretty short book, isn't it?
Yeah, it is pretty short. Everybody has a different idea what's a spoiler is, so I tried to keep it kind of general and vague. But if you didn't know, which I think most people know, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep was the book that inspired the Blade Runner films, which I've never watched, but maybe I should now. All right, prompt number 12. Don't panic. This is the final one. And remember, don't panic. Name a book series that is extremely intimidating, but with perseverance, you think you just might get through it. And we're going to start with Andrew.
Yeah, I was waiting for that.
That's the one I was thinking of.
I knew that.
That's what you get right when you go first. Yeah, I am currently on. I will be starting House of Chains. I was supposed to start it in June. I decided to push it to July, just to kind of give myself a little bit of breathing room to focus on the Olympic Readathon over on Shelf Space Discord. And yeah, I like Malazan. I don't love Malazan, but I am here for the long haul. I will finish the series no matter what. And yeah, just got to push through.
I'm trying to push through. I think I'm spacing myself like 3 months between books because one Malazan book just like, I can't do this. I need something. Malazan is why I set a schedule to read one Discworld a month, because I need something lighthearted to just get a break and a breather from Malazan. And so I picked up a Discworld book after I finished the last Malazan. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to read Discworld every month until I've completed the series. So thanks. It's Malazan is why I'm reading a Discworld every month now.
Fair enough. I usually like end up messaging Niko nonstop angry thoughts for the first half of each book. And he's just like, yeah, I get it. Yeah, I know. Just wait. Just wait. And then I'm like, okay, I'm good.
Awesome. All right, Niko, you're up.
Actually, I have finished Malazan. It definitely was one of those series for me. And yeah, it took me like a year to read the series. And normally I'm a pretty fast reader, but it like derailed my reading for that entire year because I would have to force myself through each book until like the halfway point, and then I just could not put it down for the second half of every book, rinse and repeat. So it took forever. But yeah, I was trying to think on this because, I mean, I started Wheel of Time was like my first like really big series, and I loved every minute of it. And so I don't really shy away from big series that much, because like the big series love to have a Realm of the Elderlings, which I can't wait to finish because I love. And Crown of Stars is 7 books. Also, really looking forward to.
Forgotten Realms.
Well, I'm not Hemvar. I'm not trying to read all of those, but yeah, we do know somebody who's trying to read like all 200 some Forgotten Realm novels, which is crazy. But so I think I'll go with actually. I usually use them as a camera stand, so hold on. I gotta. The Baroque Cycle by Neil Stevenson. This is book 1, and they're all huge. I legitimately do. These are gigantic, and I have no room for them on my shelf, so I usually sit my camera on them when I film videos, and I'm using the webcam right now. Yeah, awesome. They're technically in every video. They're just under the camera. So these things are gigantic. And I've heard kind of mixed things about this author, but the books, even though they're kind of minimalistic, they looked interesting. And I found all 3 of these new hardcover at half-price books, super cheap. So they are gigantic, and it's going to take me some time to read these. So this has been the series I really been putting off that I want to read, and so I think that's the closest I have. But I always say no, you can never have a series be too long if it's good. So I don't mind the long ones most of the time.
Exactly. I love the big series. For myself, a book series that is intimidating, but you can definitely get through it. Most fantasy stories, most science fiction, it's one world. And people know my channel. They know what I'm leading into here. There's one fantasy series, one universe that is not just one, but many, and that is Sanderson's The Cosmere. For many people, For many people, that can be intimidating because there's 5, 6 different worlds at least, each with their own books and their own series, but they're all linked into one massive Cosmere universe. You got Wheel of Time. It's big. It's one world. You got Malazan. It's big, but it's one world. You got all these fantasies. Lord of the Rings. It's a pretty vast world, but again, it's only one world. Only Sanderson has created an entire universe with linked worlds and linked series on different planets. He's really the only one that's created such an epically massive scope in fantasy, and I would say that's probably intimidating to some, especially if you're a new fantasy reader and just trying to get in. You might not want to start with the Cosmere because it is so much. But once you get into the Cosmere, once you get into Sanderson, I promise you won't be able to stop. It's big. It's awesome. I love it. By far my favorite, and I won't stop harping on it. Love it. That is amazing.
I do love the Cosmere.
Alvin Smith says, "Why the towels, guys?"
Yeah.
Why the towels? It's International Towel Day.
For Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Hold on. Let me see if I could pull something up here. For those who are asking why the towels.
It does seem like a weird thing if you come to a stream and you're like, why is everyone wearing a towel?
I know, right?
They're all wearing towels and talking about books.
Yeah.
Yeah, so exactly.
Ben asked what our favorite Cosmere books are. Way of Kings.
Yeah, exactly.
There's 6 Mistborn currently released. There's the 3 White Sands. There's...
Okay. So there you go. Towel Day. For those that are asking, Towel Day is celebrated every year on May 25th as a tribute to the author Douglas Adams by his fans. On this day, fans openly carry a towel with them, as described in Adams' Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, to demonstrate their appreciation for the book and the author. And that is why this is the Hitchhiker tab. Tag, not tab. and that is why it is Towel Day. So make sure you have your towel with you. So there you go, to those of you that were asking. All right, and that was the last and final question in the Hitchhikers tag. So this is a tag that I had fun creating. Very nice. That I had fun creating. And I just thought of this on the spot practically when I initially invited Andrew and Niko on. I didn't plan to do a tag video at all. I just thought, it's Towel Day. Let's do an impromptu Towel Day stream just for fun. And then I was sitting there thinking, I should create a Hitchhiker tag because nobody's done it. And there we have it. We have the brand new created live on air, never before seen, the Hitchhikers book tag. So I will say, Niko, Andrew, if you want to kind of do your own little version of this over on your channels, I would totally watch 100%. And if anybody's watching that wants to do this tag, go ahead and do that. As for those that I would like to see, I'm definitely going to tag Alex Nieves from Fantasy Book Talk. Sorry if Alex, if you're watching, I'm sorry if I said your name wrong. And I would love to see your take on that. And Leslie from the Nerdy Narrative, I know you said you DNF'd Hitchhiker, but you don't need to read Hitchhiker to do these questions. I would love to see your take on it if you're watching, if you see this. So I'm tagging you as well. And, this was a lot of fun creating this tag. I've been thinking for a while I would love to create a tag. I just didn't know what the heck to do with the tag or how to really create one that works. And this just occurred to me today. And I had fun. As soon as I figured I was at the laptop, type it away. I'm like, ooh, and this, and this, and this.
It was fun.
Yeah.
Some hard ones
totally
there.
Was fun.
You're muted, Niko.
I don't know how that happened. It might have taken longer, but I was half wondering, I'm like, is he going to do a tag that has 42 prompts for the Hitchhiker's Guide Day? And I'm like, are we going to be here all night long? What's happening here?
Oh, now that you said that, I should have. No, not 42 prompts.
I was going to say, we've got over an hour on 12, so that would have been a little bit crazy, but man.
Just a bit.
I've got so many tags to do. And in fact, I think Niko and I, we're actually currently working on our own tag.
Well, awesome.
Yeah.
That'll be fun to see. And
we're working on that with Walker Wright 7.
I'd love to see some other booktubers do this tag as well. So that'll be fun. I hope a few other people pick it up because that'll be a lot of fun. And I tried to make the questions hard, and I know you guys didn't have advanced notice of what the questions would be, which for me was part of the fun. But
seeing how we react.
Yeah, exactly. Even
it was difficult. We're the same person, and we had to choose different answers.
It's true.
You two are practically twins.
Pretty much.
We always joke that we're practically the same person from taste, and then especially now that I got a haircut again, and I have short hair too, and the glasses and the beard.
And the beard.
Oh, totally. All right. Well, thanks everybody for watching. This was a lot of fun. And, I think I might have to try and do this as a tradition Towel Day stream every year, which I think will be fun. I have linked Andrew's and Niko's channels below. I've also linked Nerdy Narrative down below and Fantasy Book Talk down below as well. I have linked the Discord, both my Discord and the Wizardly Duo Discord in the description below as well. So if you want to chat with any of us, hop on into our Discord, check that out. You can follow me on Instagram just at Drew's Book Reviews. That should be linked in the description below as well. And also, if you want to join me over on Patreon, you can. You can help pick my next read for the month, which is really fun. I've also kind of started a patron-only vlog, which is just raw, unedited, just thoughts in the moment as I'm reading my book, ideas for videos that kind of pop into my head in the moment. So I'll try to post a once a month vlog for patrons. And in the spirit of Hitchhiker's Guide, you could either be a Hoopy Frood at the first level, the ultimate question at the second level, or 42 at the third level. And the interest of Hitchhiker's Guide is kind of an homage to that. I thought that's kind of a fun way to set that up. So all that will be linked below. Thanks so much for watching. And thank you, Andrew and Niko, for joining me. I know it was such short notice, but it was great to have you on, and this was a lot of fun. So thank you so much.
It was fun.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, you bet. All right. See you all later. Bye.
All right, see ya.
And keep on reading.